The telecommunications market is one of the most competitive in the world, and here in the UK, it's no exception. Fierce competition has forced BT to continually search for ways of reducing their operational costs. One way of doing this was to amalgamate workforces and multi-skill them. However, this made the task of allocating work far more complex. So BT introduced a system to make work allocation easier. That system was Work Manager. I've no doubt that you're all familiar with Work Manager and with the criticisms that have been levelled at it. Typically, as with any new idea or system, things weren't perfect, and the way in which the system allocated work wasn't ideal. But continuous developments of the technology and software has resulted in a better, more efficient work allocation process. This means less unnecessary travelling, less passing colleagues by, less going to the same location as they've just come from, and less wasted time travelling to other areas when there's still work to be done in the area you're in. In this video, we're going to take a brief look at the next development aimed at improving the work allocation process. That development is dynamic scheduling. Dynamic scheduling now allows us to handle a variety of different types of tasks up to several days in advance. In this way, we can optimise work allocation and prioritise jobs more effectively, depending on the importance score and how close it is to failing. The new process can respond to changes in workload or to resources in seconds. This means that if someone's running late or goes sick, the problem's dealt with immediately. Similarly, if there's new work coming in, such as high priority jobs, the system ensures that any work team member coming online will always get the most appropriate job for them. Well, that's what dynamic scheduling does, but you may be wondering, just how does this new process do that? Well, to answer that, let's take a brief look at how the new allocation process works. The system has 5 main components. These are the Schedule Manager, 2 schedulers, the first being termed the hard scheduler, and the second the simulated annealer. We have the Optimise Job module, and finally the Data Visualizer. The whole process begins with the Schedule Manager. This is an interface module between the schedulers, the Optimise Job module, and the Work Manager database. Every few minutes, this draws information about work and people over a desired period from the information contained in the Work Manager database and passes it to the first of the 2 schedulers, the hard scheduler. The hard scheduler then schedules all the really complex tasks that you don't really want to move once they've been placed in the schedule. Tasks that require the cooperation of technicians, jobs that'll take time and span over the end of a day, or tasks that require other work to be done in sequence. The next scheduler, known as the simulated annealer, then deals with the remaining tasks and tries to schedule them to optimise productivity and the quality of service whilst of course minimising travel. Once completed, the resulting schedule is written into the Work Manager database. However, things don't end there. This schedule requires constant updating due to new work coming in, work team members running late, or coming online early. So to keep the schedule in tune with what's going on in the real world, there is the Optimise Job module. This looks at the schedule whenever a work team member comes online requesting work and decides whether the task initially designated is still the best task for that individual at that moment in time. For those of you familiar with the previous work allocation process, it's similar to the online recalculation carried out by the real-time algorithm. Basically speaking, it's a sanity check before it issues any work. It checks to see how important the task is, and if the work is of low importance, it'll try to improve the allocation. In this way, if any priority work has entered the system since the scheduler last ran, it'll reallocate the more important task to the work team member. Once the system is happy, the work team member is allocated the most appropriate job for them. So that's how the new work allocation process works. But there's still one component we haven't looked at: the data visualizer. This allows the operations controllers to see the schedules and identify the worst work distributions, thereby helping them to manage the flow of work more efficiently. It can help them answer questions such as, do we have the right people in the right place? Do we need to move people from one area to another, or should we leave them where they are? Are there too few tasks? Can we allocate work from other areas to keep the work teams busy? Other facilities of the data visualizer allow the ops controllers to access statistics and system parameters. In this way, the dynamic scheduler allows the system to be constantly tweaked, providing the most efficient, effective schedule at any instant in time. So, to briefly recap, the Schedule Manager is an interface that draws information about people and work and passes it to the hard scheduler, which schedules all of the complex tasks. The simulated annealer then schedules the remaining tasks before the Schedule Manager writes the finished schedule into the Work Manager database. Finally, the optimized job module ensures that the schedule is kept up to date with what's going on in the field and new work coming in. Well, that brings us to the end of this short video about dynamic scheduling. Overall, it'll provide a more flexible, more efficient work allocation process for BT's workforce and provide your customers with the best, most competitive service possible.